currently working on my 6-cylinder swap along with all kinds of stupid stuff I'm doing. And I see a lot of people talking on the Lifted Civi page about extended travel axles and longer axles and yada yada. And it's a misunderstanding, I think, that a lot of people haven't seen unless they've cycled their suspension. So I'm going to try to show you. I have this trailing arm that I got from TSS Fab, and I'm making my own tubular diff mount, and I had to make trailing arm brackets here, so I'm just making sure everything clears all through the suspension range. So I have this jacked up to where if the tire's on here, it is literally tucked up in here, which is higher than this can even go. There's no suspension at all. It's just the lateral links, and the axle is in here, but the axle nut is off, and I've pushed it in completely. So whenever your suspension is up like this, or full compression, we'll say, it is basically going to be as long as it can, because it's going off of a radius from the differential right there where that boot is. This is more or less straight coming out, and that's where the farthest part is for the axle, where it needs to be the longest. So there's about 2 inches in this inner cup here where that can move in and out. So I can take that, grabbing the axle shaft, and it can move about that far, which is just under 2 inches. So I'm gonna push it the whole way in, and then we're gonna let the suspension down like you're going over something and the wheel's going down into a rut or something, and just watch how the axle comes out. And it is pushed in right now, so if it has to come out at all, that means the axle has to be shorter at that point. So watch the axle stub right there. I'm gonna try to go down slowly and straight. All right, we're starting to move down. Just trying to hold this top straight. As you can see, it's starting to move just a little bit. And now we're pretty much at the bottom, and I gotta stop the jack quick. Pretty much at the bottom, and obviously this is hanging way down past where it would be because the suspension is not that long. I think that the longest travel they have out there is the Gorilla with 12-inch, and then Raceworks has, I believe this is 10-inch in the back. But anyway, this is way down now, so that's about all the travel you can get. And if you see, it's still got quite a bit of movement in and out, but pushed in the whole way, it's now a good 1/2 inch past where it needs to be. So the distance from the face here, where the axle nut has to be, where this has to sit and be happy, is now shorter than whenever it was all the way up here, because as this comes up, it comes out like this. So your swing of your suspension on a McPherson style rear suspension, which is different from the multi-link rear, comes out like this. Now it's exaggerated, but it comes way out like this, and that means your axle only really needs, what is that much travel technically, but obviously you want a little more so you have some room. The bearings are happy when they're near the center and not touching anything. So I'm gonna try to do this one-handed and jack this up again so you can see. I'm gonna push the axle in again, so you can see it sticking out just a little bit right there. And then as I bring this up, which is leaning out because I don't have the suspension attached, I'll push it back in. Ride height's gonna be somewhere around there. It hasn't quite gone in yet. Oh, it did a little bit. So now you say we're at ride height, and it's already gone in a little bit, so it's extended a little bit. Hit the skid plate. And now we're gonna go way up, way past where we would be able to if we had suspension in, unless we had shorter lowered suspension, which would be kind of against the point. And now we're a little over 90. We'll go back down a little bit because we know we're not gonna be past that much. And let's push this in again. Okay, and it just got a little shorter. Now the angle of this is obviously going to change it, but see, now it's in just a little bit. So basically, as it comes up, this whole hub is swinging out farther away from the center line of the differential, and that means that it's getting farther away from the differential. So those extended axles, you don't need them. You should have more than enough room in your axles if they're in the right spot, which means that you have to have everything spaced properly. Like this has a 4.5 inch lift, and I put a 2-inch subframe spacer on. We can argue if that's the right way to do it or not, but basically getting it within that range is all you need to do. So this this track motive, extended axle, ultra high performance, whatever you want to call them, axle stuff is just kind of nonsense. It's completely unnecessary unless you have some insane amount of travel, which I have never seen anybody make on a Subaru, except for that one guy that put the double wishbone suspension on his Forester and the EG33. But anyway, I ramble on, but I hope this helps, because just buy OEM. Just get OEM and reboot it with these silicone boots or OEM boots or something. That's all you need to do. That's the best answer, unless you want to spend $2,000 on Porsche axles. So anyway, I'm going to keep cracking at this T-brace thing, which is going pretty well.